All right, everybody, Chapter 6, Periodic Table and Periodic Law. Chapter 5, we talked about electron configuration, where the electrons are mapped at, and we used our periodic table. But now we're actually going to talk about how we developed the periodic table and more uses of it. So the first guy, Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev, observed when he placed elements in increasing atomic mass, the properties of the elements created a pattern. So this was 1869. This was one of his periodic tables. I think he created 2, maybe even 3 versions of his periodic table.
At least.
But please make sure that he did it by atomic mass, which is not what we use today. Today we use atomic number, which came from Henry Moseley. Now, Henry Moseley, if you remember from chapter 4, which I doubt you do, but Henry Moseley was helping us figure out the atomic number and the number of protons. So he arranged a periodic table in increasing atomic number. This showed a repeating pattern of physical properties, which is huge for us in today's world because now this is the periodic table that we use. It increases 1, 2, 3, 4, and as we go through the rows. And the trends is what we're going to talk about too. So this made complete sense. Unfortunately, Moseley died very young, at age 26, in one of the world wars. And now scientists from Britain are never allowed to go to battle, since they like their scientists to be alive. We're going to move through naming some of this. We've got our periodic table here. I like this picture because it has everything on it that you're going to need. In your notes, you have a giant periodic table that you need to label. If you need to pause us at some point when we're done talking, please go right ahead. We're going to talk through each of these. Then I would say go back to your notes and write each of these in so that you know where they're at. You will have a question on your test. You will have to label where these things are at. Yes. So it's very good practice. We have our groups and our periods. Groups are going to be your vertical rows up and down, all right? Or columns, thank you. Rows go this way, goodness gracious. Groups are your columns, they're 1 through 18. And then you have your periods, which are your rows, horizontal, 1 through 7. Mrs. Kelly, go for the rest.
Okay, let's see. Your metals, you should know this from previous science classes, but your metals are going, see your staircase, oh, you can't see me pointing.
Use your pen.
Your staircase starts at boron and goes down. Those are your metalloids. Anything down and to the left are going to be your metals. Anything up and to the right are going to be your non-metals. The only one that is down and to the left on your periodic table that is not a metal is going to be hydrogen. Your staircase, anything that touches it is going to be a metalloid. And the only one that touches the staircase that is not a metalloid, that's going to be aluminum. That is actually a metal. Okay, are there any other exceptions?
Just hydrogen and aluminum.
Okay, let's see. Your first group, starting with hydrogen, is going to be your alkali metals. They are highly reactive. Group 2, also very reactive, alkaline earth metals. Make sure you label those. Groups 3 through 12, those are going to be your transition elements. Group 13, 14, 15, and 16 are very easy. 13 is your boron group, 14 is your carbon group, 15 is your nitrogen group, and 16 is your oxygen group. 17, those are also highly reactive. Those are called your halogens. Make sure you know your halogens. Those come up quite frequently. And 18, your noble gases. You've probably learned that way back in 6th grade. You should know what your noble gases are. At the bottom, you'll notice there are 2 that are kind of separated. They actually should be kind of squished in the periodic table where the arrow goes, but there's not enough room. So they have put them down on the bottom. Those are your inner transition elements. The lanthanides are the first row. Your actinides are your second row. What am I missing?
Representative elements. Groups 1 and 2 and 13 through 18. So you got your representative, which are your tall ones. And then you've got your transition, which Mrs. Kelly had talked to you 3 through 12. They're the goofballs. They jump between your numbers, so you never know how many electrons are on the outside unless it's given to you.
Right.
But your representatives, you always know your valence electrons. Group 1 has 1, Group 2 has 2, all the way through 18. The only other thing on here is that we have attached a video. You need to check the website of Mrs. Kelly and I's classes, and you need to watch the amazing periodic table wrap.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good, and it'll show you again where the metals, the non-metals, what the groups' names are, and it's pretty cool. So that is section 1. We're going to move right into section 2, and we're going to talk about the classification of elements. Now, if you remember from chapter 5, we had you color a periodic table with your S, P, D, and F blocks.
Yes.
Again, chemistry just keeps snowballing. Everything kind of builds off of each other. So using those blocks, along with the energy levels, you can help identify what elements you have. Again, your energy level is what period you're in, or what row, energy level 1 through 7. What we're going to do is we're going to give you problems. Identify the following elements from some information given. The first problem says an electron configuration of Kr, this is a noble gas notation, just did that in chapter 5. Kr, 5s2, 4d10, 5p2. So, using your periodic table, if you didn't already have it out, pause us, go get it, come back. So we are in the 5th energy level, which means we're in the 5th row. How do I know that? Because there are big 5s, and then the Kr from the noble gas means that I'm using the krypton from that one, and I'm down in the row below it. So we're building off of krypton's noble gas notation, and we're going all the way through. So at 5p2, I remember, and Mrs. Kelly remembers, the p block is over here, and we are the second p. So we are group 1, 2, group 13, group 14. I am the second p in the 5th energy level, which means I need to count down 5 rows. Now, don't forget, even though there's nothing up here, helium and hydrogen are energy level 1.
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I end up 5p2 is the element Sn, or tin. Back.
Sorry.
There we go. Pointer. Yep.
Okay, so we're going to write Sn
There we go.
for 10.
So that's all you have to answer once you figure out what the element is. So this uses your periodic table. You have 5 valence electrons. Ooh, valence electrons. We're using some big words.
Yeah.
5 valence electrons means your dot diagram would have 5
5.
dots. So if I have 5 dots, that means group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in group 15. So I know that I'm in group 15. Now I have to figure out what period I'm in, which is the energy level. If I'm in the 6th energy level, I count down 6 energy levels. 1 being the hydrogen helium. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Down here at the 6th energy level, I find out that I am Bi, bismuth. All I have to do is write the symbol down. So these are pretty easy using your periodic table. But now Mrs. Kelly and I are going to challenge you.
Oh, yeah.
You have to put the periodic table away,
Yes.
except or just hide it for now. It will be away. You can hide it, but leave only the noble gases that you can see. Just the noble gases. So we're going to use this stuff, all right, for the bottom part. So hold on to that. Put it down at the bottom. The first question is going to ask, can you determine the group, the period, and the block from a noble gas notation? Now again, your group is what column you are, your period is what row you are, and your block is what letter you are, S, P, D, or F. Block is the easiest one, so I usually start my students there.
Yes.
So we look at the very last letter given to you in the noble gas notation.
Right here it's P.
All right, so your block is P.
Okay.
Now the next easiest one is your period. The period is what energy level you are. So you look at your big numbers, not the superscripts, but the big number, and you look at what the biggest one is by value. Here we have a 2 and a 2. So you are in period 2. You're in the 2nd row.
Yes.
Now the group is where you actually have to do some memorization and some counting. You look at your last block. What block are you in? We said we were in the P block. If we're in the P block, you got to remember where your periodic table is. P's start at what group?
13.
13. So 13 is your first one. I'm at P5. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I am in group 17.
Good.
I can count. All right, let's do another one. So we're going to use the same labels up above. We've got the group, the period, and the block. We're not going to rewrite those. but Mrs. Kelly is going to help me go through this next one.
Yes.
So block's the easiest. We got our letter, right?
We're looking at the very last letter, so it's P, not a D.
Mm.
Okay,
All
P
right.
block.
P block. What period we're going to go with the biggest number?
Right. Notice you've got 5 and you've got 4, but 5 is the highest one, so you are in the 5th energy level.
No, 5th period. Energy level, period, same thing.
Okay, you're in P3.
Woo.
Remember to start with 13.
13, 14, 15. I'm counting 3 P's. Always make sure you actually start counting at 13 and make sure that's your number 1.
Yes.
So we're at group 15.
So remember, we're asking you to do this without your periodic table. So you can practice with it, but in class you will be expected to do it without the periodic table.
All right. Now the tough one. Can you write the noble gas notation? This means that you actually understand quite a bit of information.
Yes.
So this is our real test of who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So noble gas notation. Remember our noble gases? We've got them. We've got everything else covered up. We're going to need the order. Now we can use this to help us figure out where our period is and what noble gas we're going to use to start with our notation.
Yes.
The information given. You are a halogen in the 3rd period.
What is a halogen?
Halogen, well, we just learned a halogen is group 17,
Yes.
right? So group 17, we know what block that tells us. If I'm in the 3rd period, that can help us figure out what noble gas we need to use.
Okay.
So if I'm in the 3rd period, I count 1, 2, 3 down. That's the row that I'm actually going to be found.
Right.
But we use which noble gas?
The one above it.
All right, so the row above it. So we need to use neon.
Okay.
So we bracket neon.
Oh, that says a C.
Yeah, that's a neon.
There you go.
All right. Now we have to figure out if I'm a halogen, Mrs. Kelly, what blocks did I have to go through, right? I'm in the 3rd period. So
yes.
3rd period means energy level 3.
Okay, so we write down a 3.
Write down a 3. Now, what letters did we go through?
Well, we're in the P, so we had to go through the S.
We had to go through an S. So we're
Okay.
going to write 3S2 because we filled all of our S's, and there's 2. Now, does the 3rd energy level have any D's on the periodic table in that actual line?
Let's see. No.
No. The 3rd energy level for the D's doesn't actually start till you're in the 4th
Right.
period. So we don't have any D's. We get to go right to 3P.
Right.
Now I'm a halogen. If I'm a halogen, I'm in group 17. I got to figure out
Yes.
what superscript of P I am, so I got to count.
Okay.
Well, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Good.
So I'm going to be P5.
Right.
And then we're done. That
Very
wasn't
good.
so bad.
No.
But you've got to know that energy level 1, 2, and 3, or period 1, 2, and 3 do not have any D's in them. It's not till you get to the 4th period
Right.
that you'll have to worry about the D.
Yes.
And remember, the D is one number less than the period you're in. We will get lots of practice. Don't worry. We will. You'll be okay. Let's do
And
the
you
next
did this
one.
in chapter 5.
Yeah. All right. Group 14, our last torture problem. Group 14 element in the 3rd period. Well, I know from above the 3rd period, we already got some information. So we're going to use the information again.
Yes.
We're going to use what's given to us. Sometimes on a test, they might ask you a question, and you've already been asked that question before. Go back and look. Use it. So here we've got 3rd period, which means we're going to use our noble gas of Ne again.
Yep, because that's the noble gas for the 2nd energy level.
And we're still in the 3rd period, so we're still 3. And we're at least 3S. Now, if I'm
Yeah.
group 14, have I filled my S's?
Yes.
Yeah. So 3S2.
Are there any D's?
No D's, not unless I was in the 4th period.
So we can go straight to 3P.
Which P?
Let's see. P block starts with group 13. So 13, 14, P2.
P2. We can count.
Okay? You should be able to do this on your own without the periodic table. We will practice in class, but you are expected to be able to do that.
All right. Good luck.